Curriculum as Becoming, My Digital Story for ECS 210 by Schienbein. Curriculum, a word that is forever embedded in the minds of teachers. What is curriculum? Well, technically, curriculum is the aggregate of courses of study given in a school, college, university, etc. via dictionary.com. Or the courses offered by an educational institution via merriam-webster.com. However, the truth is that curriculum is so much more than that, and my journey through ECS 210 truly made this idea a reality. What is curriculum to me as a student? When I was a student in elementary and high school, I never really knew what curriculum was. I was familiar with the term, but I was just under the assumption that it was what teachers forced us to do or what we just simply had to do. Curriculum to me as a student was what we studied throughout the year, but I really had no idea the depth of it. I had no idea who made the curriculum or what its purpose was. I was under the impression that teachers taught whatever they wanted to teach. Curriculum to me as a student was something I failed to grasp. What is curriculum to me as a pre-service teacher? As I began my education degree, curriculum became known to me as what we as teachers had to teach. It was a government or ministry mandated curriculum that told us what we had to do in our classrooms. It was confusion of outcomes and indicators and something that I thought was going to become a headache in my future. Of course, as my education program moved on, curriculum became less intimidating and I began to further understand what it meant, but not necessarily all that it was. That leads me to what curriculum is to me now. The very theme of our ECS 210 class was curriculum as cultural and social practice. And this class did so much more than define what curriculum is. It taught us to see everything that curriculum can be. It began with curriculum as place, an autobiography of how places and people shaped our lives. We moved into curriculum as narrative and learning community, how stories shape our lives and building a community of learners. We collaborated with classmates to explore curriculum as written, planned, and taught, presenting our inquiry group projects. And we finished with curriculum as becoming, the development of this digital story. Each and every assignment was opening another meaning of what curriculum is. Personally, I leave this class thinking that curriculum is everything, and that every aspect of our classrooms can be related to curriculum. The guest speakers we had in our class helped shape my understanding of curriculum. We had a speaker on poverty, one whom I unfortunately don't remember the name of, but she taught us that we never truly know what our students are living through. A quote from her said, "We aren't born miserable. Something happens to make us that way." That quote stuck with me because we as teachers may never truly know the difficulties that our students face in their lives. That is curriculum. We had a lecture by Grant Urban, who taught us to find the middle ground between the mandated curriculum and the lived curriculum. Grant taught us that you don't even need to speak a word to have a voice. He told us a story about a girl in his class who spoke up about not being beautiful, and he became emotional when he reflected on the courage she had. That is lived, and that is curriculum. In a blog post I did on February 7th, 2014, I was commenting on treaty education and how I never considered myself a treaty person. I quoted, "Now I understand just how irrational and silly I was, and that was completely wrong. I live on treaty land, and I have the opportunity to live here because of the treaties, specifically Treaty 4 in my case. If we live on treaty land, are we not all treaty people?" I reference this quote because I feel a similar way when I think about curriculum. I was irrational and silly to think that it was just mandated and that was that. Curriculum is so much more. It's mandated, hidden, and, in my opinion most importantly, it's lived. The lived curriculum is everything. It's what happens inside the classroom and even outside. It's having students live in the dominant narratives without even knowing it, and it's trying to combat those dominant narratives. It's educating our students about treaties and trying to find a way to do so properly. It's the little battles our students have in their lives that we as teachers may never know about. It's everything. Curriculum is everything. I struggled with this notion early on, and as much as I maybe wanted to think it was only mandated, it just simply isn't. I credit Grant Urban's lecture because it taught me that curriculum really is everything, but that we can find common ground in the space between the mandated and the lived curriculum. The truth is that as a pre-service teacher, I don't look forward to the mandated curriculum anymore. I look forward to lived curriculum. I look forward to the day a little girl stands up and speaks her mind in my class. Lived curriculum is something that can have the happiest of moments or the saddest of moments, but it really is a beautiful thing. Curriculum will always be the focal point of me as a teacher. I always say that teachers are lifelong learners. Well, teachers are lifelong curriculum makers. The mandated curriculum is what was supposed to happen, but the lived curriculum, we never truly know what is going to happen. If you ask me, that is a beautiful thing. We have to enjoy the ride, whether positive or negative, and live every day to the fullest. Not only do we owe it to ourselves, but we owe it to our students as well. After all, we are all lived curriculum.